Imagine waking up one day and realizing the people around you shaped your beliefs. And suddenly, the thoughts you trusted start to feel suspiciously familiar. What if what you call overthinking is actually a survival alarm that never got turned off? By the end, you'll understand why your mind repeats patterns that hurt you and how to work with it instead of fighting it. You've probably had moments where your brain feels like it's sabotaging you. You procrastinate when something matters. You shut down mid-conversation. You read fine as rejection. You scroll for relief and feel worse after. Here's what most people miss. Your mind doesn't do this because it's broken. It does this because it learned what kept you safe. Maybe safety meant staying quiet. Maybe safety meant performing. Maybe safety meant predicting moods before they hit you. And maybe safety meant never needing anyone too much. But then, you grew up, your world changed, and the old tools stayed. Now watch what happens next. What once protected you can start controlling you without permission. So let's frame this in simple terms. Your mind is a security system. It scans for danger, even when there isn't any. It remembers what pain looked like, sounded like, and felt like. Then it tries to prevent it, fast. Here's the twist. It doesn't care if your protection strategy makes you happy. It only cares if it makes you safe. Think of it like a mask you forgot you're wearing. At first, it helped you blend in, but over time, the mask becomes your face, and you start treating normal life like a threat. This is the turning point. When you stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What did my mind learn to do for me?" And that's when you notice. The real goal isn't to fix yourself. It's to update the system. So here's the open loop. In the next sections, you'll see the 6 most common ways your mind protects you, how they look in real life, why they stick, and what you can do today to loosen their grip without forcing yourself to be someone you're not. Protection pattern number 1, hypervigilance. Your mind stays on because calm once felt risky. You don't relax. You monitor. You read rooms like weather forecasts. You sense small shifts and treat them like signs. Here's what most people miss. This isn't obsession. It's training. If you learned that surprises were costly, you start paying attention to everything. Mini scenario. You're at work and someone replies with fewer words than usual. Your stomach drops. Your mind starts building 10 explanations. You fix it by working harder, talking less, or apologizing for things you didn't do. Now watch what happens next. Hypervigilance feels like control, but it's actually exhaustion disguised as being prepared. Protection pattern number 2, people-pleasing, because belonging used to require performance. You say yes too quickly. You soften your needs. You become easy to keep. And then, resentment grows in silence. Here's the twist. People-pleasing isn't kindness. It's a strategy. It's the belief that conflict equals abandonment, so you prevent conflict at all costs. Mini scenario. A friend cancels last minute. You say, "No worries," while your chest tightens. You act fine, but later you replay the whole friendship like a crime scene. This is the turning point. When you realize you're not avoiding conflict, you're avoiding the feeling of being unsafe inside it. And that's when you notice. Both hypervigilance and people-pleasing have the same hidden goal. Don't trigger the old pain. But then, life demands honesty. Relationships demand boundaries. Work demands clarity. Here's what most people miss. The cost isn't just stress, it's identity. When you're always scanning and smoothing, you start forgetting what you actually want. So hold on to this. Your mind is not your enemy. It's your overworked bodyguard. And if it's intense, it's because it's been doing the job alone for too long. Protection pattern number 3, emotional numbing, because feeling used to be overwhelming. You don't cry, you don't get excited, you don't get attached. You stay fine, even when you're not. Here's what most people miss. Numbness isn't absence of emotion. It's emotion with the volume turned down to avoid damage. Mini scenario. Someone you care about asks, "What's wrong?" You can't explain it. You feel blank. You change the subject. You go back to your screen. Now watch what happens next. If your mind learned that emotions caused chaos, It will protect you by shutting the door before anything spills out. Protection pattern number 4, overthinking. Because your brain believes answers prevent pain. You analyze messages, tone, timing, and meaning like your life depends on it. Here's the twist. Overthinking isn't intelligence. It's a search for safety. It's your mind trying to solve an emotional problem with logic. Mini scenario. You post something online. You refresh for reactions, then regret posting at all. You start rewriting yourself in your head. Maybe I sounded stupid. Maybe I'm too much. This is the turning point. When you realize the goal of overthinking isn't clarity, it's certainty. And certainty is impossible when human relationships are involved. And that's when you notice. Numbing and overthinking often team up. When you can't feel clearly, you think harder. When thinking doesn't help, you numb more. A loop that looks productive, but quietly traps you. Here's what most people miss. The mind prefers a familiar pain over an unfamiliar freedom. Because familiar pain at least comes with a map. But then you start confusing safe with small. You stop taking risks that could actually heal you. You stop trusting your own reactions. Here's the twist. Your mind's protection isn't the problem. The outdated settings are. Protection pattern number 5. Self-sabotage, because succeeding can feel unsafe. Yes, unsafe. Not because you don't want good things, but because good things come with visibility, pressure, and the risk of losing them. Here's what most people miss. If you learned that being seen led to criticism, your mind may protect you by pulling you back right before you shine. Mini scenario. You finally start building a routine, then you miss one day and something in you says, "See, you never change." You quit completely, not because you can't do it, but because quitting feels familiar. Now watch what happens next. Self-sabotage is often your mind choosing a controlled fall over an unpredictable climb. Protection pattern number 6. Defensiveness, because your nervous system hears danger inside feedback. Someone says something small, your body reacts big. You argue, you explain, you shut down, you counterattack. Here's the twist. Defensiveness isn't arrogance, it's protection. It's the reflex of being misunderstood too many times. Mini scenario. A partner says, "Can we talk about something?" You instantly prepare for judgment. You start defending before anything is even said. This is the turning point, when you separate the present moment from the past. Because your nervous system doesn't track dates, it tracks patterns. And that's when you notice all 6 patterns share one secret. They are not personality traits, they are adaptive responses that overstayed their purpose. Here's what most people miss. Your brain is loyal, not wise. It repeats what worked before, even if it costs you now. But then you realize something quieter and more powerful. If these patterns were learned, they can be unlearned, gently, ethically, and without turning your life into a harsh self-improvement boot camp. Here's the twist. Healing isn't becoming fearless. It's becoming safe enough to feel, choose, and respond on purpose. So why do these patterns stay? Because they reward you immediately, even when they harm you later. Here's what most people miss. The brain prioritizes short-term relief over long-term growth. People-pleasing reduces tension now. Numbing reduces pain now. Overthinking creates an illusion of control now. Avoidance lowers anxiety now. But then, later arrives. Later is stress. Later is loneliness. Later is, "Why do I keep doing this?" And that's when you notice. Protection disguises itself as a responsibility. You tell yourself you're being realistic. You call your anxiety being prepared. You call your shutdown being chill. You call your overthinking being thorough. Here's the twist. The pattern isn't trying to ruin your life. It's trying to prevent a feeling your body still believes is dangerous. Mini scenario. You finally decide to set a boundary. Your mind screams, "Don't." You'll lose them, your chest tightens, your throat closes. You feel guilty. You almost backtrack, because guilt feels like danger, even when it's just unfamiliar. Now watch what happens next. The moment you change, your nervous system interprets it as risk. because change means stepping outside the old operating system. This is the turning point. You stop treating discomfort as proof you're wrong. Sometimes discomfort is proof you're updating, and that's when you notice these patterns often hide behind your values. You say, I'm just loyal when you're actually afraid to leave. You say, I'm just independent when you're actually afraid to need. You say, I'm just honest when you're actually protecting yourself with sharpness. Here's what most people miss. Protection becomes identity when it's all you've known. But then, you can integrate. Integration isn't forcing yourself to be different overnight. It's teaching your mind one new message, repeatedly. We are safe enough to respond differently now. Here's the twist. The goal isn't to remove protection. The goal is to give it options. Let's bring it home. Your mind isn't broken. It's protecting you. Hypervigilance, people-pleasing, numbing, overthinking, self-sabotage, defensiveness. These are not flaws. They're survival strategies that got promoted into permanent roles. Here's what most people miss. You don't heal by attacking the strategy. You heal by understanding the fear underneath it. Now watch what happens next. When you build safety in small moments, the patterns loosen without a fight. So here's your do this today checklist. Name the pattern in real time. This is overthinking. This is people-pleasing. This is shutdown. Locate it in your body, chest, throat, stomach. Where does it live right now? Ask one better question. What is my mind trying to protect me from feeling? Take one 10% action, one boundary sentence, one honest message, one break, one request. Small, doable. End with proof of safety. One calming breath cycle. Feet on the floor. A short walk. Teach your system. Nothing bad happened. Here's the ethical note. This video isn't about blaming your past or labeling anyone as the villain. It's about recognizing that your nervous system learned what it had to learn, and you can update it without cruelty toward yourself or others. And that's when you notice. Real strength is not never reacting. Real strength is pausing long enough to choose your response. If this helped, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who keeps calling themselves broken. Because the truth is simpler and kinder. Strong comment question. Which protection pattern shows up the most in your life? Overthinking, people-pleasing, numbing, or defensiveness? And what do you think it's trying to protect you from?